Good afternoon, all. Today I'm going to take my seminar on tactile, position, pain, thermal, and taste senses. So, we all know that the central nervous system acts as a computer processor. We know that computer processor is the commanding center for the functions of the computer. Similarly, the central nervous system acts as a commanding center for all the functions of our body. All the sensory informations from different parts of the body are collected by a nervous mechanism called the somatic senses, and the somatic senses can be classified into three: the mechanoreceptive somatic senses, the thermoreceptive senses, and the pain senses. As the term indicates, the mechanoreceptive somatic senses include the sensations that are stimulated by mechanoreceptors. Okay, so they are stimulated by means of certain mechanical displacement of tissues. And the next is the thermoreceptive senses. The thermoreceptive senses respond to the thermal change or the temperature changes occurring in the external environment of the body, and these thermoreceptive senses responds to the stimulations that have done by the thermoreceptors. Okay, so that the changes in the temperature of the external environment stimulates the thermal receptors, and which in turn causes the thermoreceptive senses. And the pain senses is activated by any factor that damage the tissue, that can be external or internal. So the first one is the tactile senses. The tactile senses or the touch sensation. Okay, so the receptors responsible for these sensations are mechanoreceptors, and they are found in the skin. These mechanoreceptors work by means these mechanical forces of the stimulus will distort non-specific cation channel proteins in the plasma membrane of these receptors, leading to net Na plus entry, which cause a receptor potential that triggers an action potential in the afferent fiber, so that the sensory input from these receptors will inform the central nervous system about the body's contact with the object in the external environment. The tactile receptors include hair receptor, Merkel's disc, Pacinian corpuscle, Ruffini's endings, and Messinus corpuscle. These five receptors are included in the tactile receptors, and these five receptors serve five different functions. So the first one is the hair receptors, and it is readily adapting and sense hair movement and a very gentle touch. Okay, these are adapted by, these are sensed by the hair receptors. Okay, very gentle touch and the hair movement can be detected by the hair receptor. And this an example is the stroking the hair with our arm. It is sensed by the hair receptor. And the next one is the Merkel's disc, and it is a slowly adapting receptor, and it detects light, sustained touch and texture. The next one is Pacinian corpuscle, and it is rapidly adapting and it responds to vibrations and deep pressure. And the next one is Ruffini endings, and they are slowly adapting and respond to deep sustained pressure and the stretch of the skin, okay, such as during a massage. And the last one is the Messinus corpuscle, and they are rapidly adapting and sensitive to light, fluttering touch such as tickling with a feather, and all these sensations are detected by the Messinus corpuscle. All these five receptors comes under the tactile receptors. So, the pathway in which the tactile sensations are processed is by dorsal column pathway or medial lemniscus pathway. So, it includes the spinal cord, brainstem, etc. And here, for the transmission of signals from the upper body parts, it is through the cervical spinal cord, and if the transmission is from the lower body parts, it is by the lumbar spinal cord. So for the upper body parts, the signals from the receptors are conveyed to the spinal cord, and the spinal cord has a dorsal column, and the dorsal column can be partitioned into two. The lateral region is called as fasciculus cuneatus, and the medial region is known as the fasciculus gracilis. So for the transmission of signals from the upper body parts, the transmission takes place through the fasciculus cuneatus, and for the transmission of signals from the lower body parts, the transmission takes place through the fasciculus gracilis, and the lumbar vertebrae have fasciculus gracilis only. No fasciculus cuneatus is present in lumbar vertebrae. So, and from the fasciculus cuneatus, the signals are transmitted to the medulla, and in the medulla they reaches the nucleus cuneatus, that is this region, and from there they are transported to the pons and midbrain, and then they finally reaches the thalamus, and from there they are transported to the somatosensory cortex, and there we can sense the feeling of all these receptors. So this is the pathway for the tactile receptors. So the dorsal column or medial lemniscus pathway is a sensory pathway of the central nervous system that conveys sensations of fine touch, vibration, two-point discrimination, and proprioception or the position senses from the skin and joints. So it transmits information from the body to the primary somatosensory cortex in the brain. The pathway receives information from sensory receptors throughout the body and carries this in nerve tracts in the white matter of the dorsal columns of the spinal cord to the medulla, where it is continued in the medial lemniscus on the thalamus and relayed from there through the internal capsule and transmitted to the somatosensory cortex. So there are three grouping of neurons are involved in this pathway: the first order neuron, second order neuron, and the third order neuron. The first order neurons are sensory neurons located in the dorsal root ganglia that send their afferent fibers through the two dorsal columns, that is the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. And the first order axons make contact with the second order neurons of the dorsal column nuclei, that is the cuneatus nucleus and the gracilis nucleus of the medulla. And the third order neurons are in the ventral nuclear group in the thalamus, and fibers from these ascend to the postcentral gyrus. Sensory information from the upper half of the body is received at the cervical level of the spinal cord and is carried in the cuneate tract, and information from the lower body is received at the lumbar level and is carried in the gracile tract. So this is all about the tactile senses, and the next is the position senses. Position sense is nothing but it is a position sense or the posture sense. It is a variety of muscular sense by which the position or the attitude of the body or its part is perceived. Okay, so the position sense are also called as proprioceptive senses, and they can be divided into two: static position senses and dynamic position sense or dynamic proprioception. So the position sensory receptors are responsible for the detection of position senses. Both the static and dynamic position senses depends on knowing the degree of angulation of all joints in all planes and their rate of change. Therefore, different types of receptors help to determine joint angulation and are used together for position senses. Both skin tactile receptors and deep receptors near the joints are used for determining joint angulation in mid ranges of motion. The most receptors are the muscle spindles. The net stretch information from the spindles is transmitted into the computational system of the spinal cord and higher regions of the dorsal column. At the extreme of joint angulation, stretch of the ligaments and deep tissue around the joint is an additional important factor in determining position. So this is about the position senses, and the transmission of the position sense is also by means of the dorsal column or medial lemniscal pathway. The next one is the pain senses. Pain is primarily a protective mechanism triggered on stimulation of danger sensing receptors are called as pain receptors or nociceptors. So, the storage of painful experience in the memory help us avoid potentially harmful events in the future. It is more than a direct response to a stimulus. It is accomplished by motivational behavioral responses such as withdrawal or defense and the emotional reactions such as crying or fear. The categories of pain receptors are of three categories: the mechanical nociceptors or pain receptors, and they respond to the mechanical damages such as cutting, crushing or pinching. And the second one is the thermal nociceptors, and they respond to the temperature extremes. And the third one is the polymodal nociceptors, and they respond equally to all kind of damaging stimuli, including the irritating chemicals released from injured tissues. So these three are the major three categories of pain receptors or nociceptors. So, characters of pain. Pain can be characterized into two: fast pain and slow pain. Fast pain is done by the stimulation of a mechanical and thermal receptors, whereas slow pain is due to the stimulation of polymodal receptors. And the fast pain is carried by means of small myelinated A delta fibers, whereas the slow pain is carried out by small myelinated C fibers. And fast pain produce sharp pricking sensations, whereas slow pain produce dull, aching and burning sensation. Fast pain can be easily localized, whereas slow pain can be poorly localized. And fast pain occurs first, but slow pain occurs second and it will persist for longer time. So these are the major difference between the fast pain and the slow pain, and these are the two major characters of pain. So the fast and slow afferent pain fibers. The pain impulses originating at nociceptors are transmitted to the central nervous system through two types of afferent fibers. Signals arising from nociceptors that respond to mechanical damage are transmitted over small myelinated air fibers at a fast rate, but in the case of slow pain, the impulses from polymodal nociceptors that respond to chemicals released into the extracellular fluid from damaged tissue are carried by small myelinated C fibers at a slower rate. So these are the fast and slow afferent pain fibers. Slow pain is triggered by certain chemicals, especially bradykinin. It is an inactive substance and becomes active by the enzyme released into the extracellular fluid from the damaged tissue. They stimulate the polymodal nociceptors and thereby provoke pain. The slow pain persists for long time because of the persistence of these chemicals in the site. Okay, so these bradykinin chemicals, they are inactive substance and they become active by the enzyme released into the extracellular fluid from the damaged tissue, and they stimulate the polymodal nociceptors and thereby provoke slow pain, and the slow pain persists for long time because of the presence of these chemicals at the site. So the higher level processing of pain input, the multiple structures are involved in the pain processing. Primary afferent pain fibers and the ascending pain pathways in the spinal cord and brain regions involved with the pain perception. So the two best pain neurotransmitters are substance P and glutamate. This diagram shows the substance P mediated pain pathway, that is the ascending pathway. So the substance P is unique to pain fibers. It activates ascending pathway that transmit the nociceptive signals to higher level for further processing. Ascending pathway have different destinations such as somatosensory cortex, thalamus, reticular formations. The cortical somatosensory processing area localize pain, whereas other cortical areas participate in the experiences such as memory about the incident, and pain can still be perceived at the level of the thalamus in the absence of cortex. The reticular formation increases the level of alertness associated with the dangerous encounter. Interconnections from the thalamus and the reticular formation to the hypothalamus and limbic system increases the behavioral and emotional responses accompanying the painful experience. So this is the substance P mediated ascending pathway of pain. And the next is the glutamate. As we already discussed that the two best neurotransmitters of pain are glutamate and substance P. Glutamate, the other neurotransmitter released from the primary afferent pain terminal, is a major excitatory neurotransmitter. It acts on two different plasma membrane receptors on the dorsal horn excitatory interneurons with the two results. First, it binds with the AMPA receptor and result in the generation of action potentials in the dorsal horn cell by permeability changes. Second, binding of glutamate with the NMDA receptor lead to the CA plus entry, which initiates second messenger system that make the dorsal horn cell more excitable than usual. So, the analgesic system or the descending pathway is the pathway for suppressing the pain. So, the brain has an inbuilt analgesic system for pain suppressing or analgesic system that suppress transmission in the pain pathway. The three brain regions that are part of this descending pathway are the periaqueductal gray matter, specific nuclei in the medulla, reticular formation. The periaqueductal gray matter stimulates particular neurons that terminate in the inhibitory interneurons in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, and these inhibitory interneurons release endogenous opioids such as enkephalins, endorphins, and dynorphin. These endogenous opioids act as analgesic neurotransmitter. Binding of these endogenous opioids with the afferent pain fiber terminal suppress the release of substance P by presynaptic inhibition. This is the analgesic system of pain suppression. The next is the thermal sensation. The human being can perceive different gradations of cold and heat. The cold and warmth receptors are located immediately under the skin at discrete separated spots. The TRPM8 receptors are activated by moderate cold, and the M refers to menthol. Cold receptors are inactive at a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius but activates when temperature falls to 24 degrees Celsius. TRPV3 and TRPV4 receptors activate when skin temperature reaches 33 to 39 degrees Celsius and 25 to 34 degrees Celsius. They become silent when the temperature reaches about 45 degrees Celsius. If temperature is further increased to induce a sensation of pain. And the mechanism of thermal sensation and the thermal signals are transmitted in pathways that are parallel to those for pain signals. The next is the taste senses. The specialized sense organs for taste consist of 5,000 taste buds. A taste bud consists of 50 long spindle-shaped taste receptors, and this is the general diagram of a taste bud, and we can see that a taste pore, that is the opening, and the taste receptor cells. So this is the structure of a taste bud. Each taste bud has a small opening called a taste pore through which the fluids in the mouth come into contact with the receptor cells. Taste receptor cells are modified epithelial cells with many surface fold or microvilli. Binding of the tastent. Tastent is the substance uh, that makes a sensation of a taste. Okay, so the tastent, the binding of the tastent with the receptor. Each taste bud has a small opening called the taste pore through which the fluids in the mouth come into contact with the receptor cells. Taste receptor cells are modified epithelial cells with many surface folds or microvilli. Binding of a tastent. A tastent is nothing but it is a taste provoking chemical. So, the binding of a tastent with a receptor cell alerts the cell's ionic channel and produce a depolarizing receptor potential. Depolarizing potential opens voltage gate Ca2 plus channels leading to the entry of Ca2 plus and promotes the release of neurotransmitter. Each taste receptor cell responds to only one tastent. Terminal afferent endings of several cranial nerves terminate on the taste buds. Signals in these sensory input are conveyed by synaptic stops in the brainstem and thalamus to the primary gustatory cortex. Taste signals are also sent to hypothalamus and limbic system to add affective dimensions such as whether the taste is pleasurable or unpleasant. So, we can discriminate among thousands of taste sensations, yet all tastes are varying combination of 5 primary tastes. They are salty taste, sour taste, sweet taste, bitter taste, and umami taste. The first one, salty taste. Salty taste is stimulated by chemical salts, especially NaCl. And the sour taste, it is caused by the acids which contain a free hydrogen ion, that is H+. And the sweet taste, it is a pleasurable sensation evoked by the particular configuration of glucose. So the bitter taste, it is elicited by more chemically diverse group of tastes than the other taste sensation. Alkaloids and poisonous substances are taste bitter. And the umami taste, it is a pleasant savory taste that was first identified and named by a Japan researcher, and it is triggered by amino acid, especially glutamate. The transduction of salt and sour taste is mediated by ion channels, whereas the transduction of other 3 primary tastes depends upon the GPCRs, that is G protein coupled receptors. Okay, so the bitter is detected by T2R receptors, and the sweet and umami are detected by the specific combination of 2 of the different T1R receptors. The T1R and the T2R are taste receptor type 1 and taste receptor type 2. So, the sweet taste result from binding of tastent to the receptor combination of T1R2 and T1R3. T1R2 is taste receptor type 1 member 2, and T1R3 is taste receptor type 1 member 3. And the umami taste is triggered by the binding of the receptor combination of T1R1 and T1R3, that is taste receptor type 1 member 1 and taste receptor type 1 member 3. That's about the tactile, position, pain, thermal and taste sensors. Thank you.